The night sky over Sector 9 was quiet, stars blinking gently above a long stretch of desert. But that peace ended in one heartbeat. A flash of light cut through the sky like a blade. Moments later, a deep explosion shook the ground. Locals ran outside, eyes wide. In the distance, fire burned on the edge of the rocky hills. The military arrived within minutes. Drones circled above. Vehicles formed a blockade. At the center of the crash site, hidden behind broken metal and smoke, was a strange pod. It was not human-made. The markings on it glowed blue, pulsing like a heartbeat. Soldiers moved slowly, guns raised. No one knew what they would find. Then the hatch opened. A small figure stumbled out, coughing. Her skin was pale silver. Her hair floated like silk in the dry wind. She looked human, almost, but her eyes were glowing violet. She was shaking, bleeding from her arm. And then she spoke. "Help, please. They're coming." The soldiers froze. She collapsed. News spread fast. An alien had landed. Panic followed. News screens lit up. Experts debated on every channel. Some said it was fake. Others called her a spy. Scientists wanted to study her. Politicians wanted her locked away. No one believed her warning, except one man. Theo Dunn swept the floors of the observation base near the crash site. He wasn't important, not anymore. Once, he had flown missions across distant planets. But after a mistake during a battle, the government let him go. Now, he mopped floors and fixed coffee machines. No one noticed him. But he noticed everything. Theo had been there when the alien girl arrived. He saw her eyes. He saw the fear. And he didn't think she was lying. 2 days later, while guards changed shifts, Theo made his move. He entered the lab where she was kept. Cameras were off for just 2 minutes. Strange, but Theo didn't ask why. He found her strapped to a metal bed, eyes closed. Machines beeped. Quietly. Her face looked calm, but tired, like she had been through fire and cold in one breath. He whispered, "Hey, can you hear me?" Her eyes opened slowly. She blinked. Then, a weak smile. "You're not one of them," she said softly. Theo felt something cold crawl down his back. She sat up with his help. Her hands trembled. She whispered again, "They didn't believe me. You do." Theo nodded. "What's coming?" She looked at the ceiling, like the stars were speaking to her. They hide inside bodies. They wear faces like clothes. On my planet, they came. As friends, within a week, cities burned, my family ... My people ... all gone. I followed one of their signals. It led me here. Theo didn't know what to say. "Why Earth?" She turned to him. "Because Earth is next." He helped her walk. Out the back door. No alarms rang. No guards stopped them. It was as if something or someone wanted her to leave. Theo took her to his small cabin far from town. He gave her water, wrapped her wounds, and watched her sleep. That night, he sat by the window, looking up at the sky. He didn't know if she was telling the truth, but something deep inside told him the world had just changed forever. At dawn, the girl woke and walked outside. She stood barefoot on the sand, her silver skin glowing faintly in the rising sun. Theo joined her. "What's your name?" he asked. "Solari." He repeated it slowly. It felt strange but powerful. She looked at him. "I traveled 369 light years to find someone who would listen." Just one human. Theo didn't speak. Solari stepped closer. "Now I found you." And far above them, beyond the clouds, something else moved in the darkness, watching. Waiting. The secret she carries. Theo couldn't sleep. The alien girls. Words echoed in his mind like a quiet alarm. They hide inside bodies. They wear faces like clothes. It sounded insane. But her eyes, her voice, they didn't feel like lies. She looked at the stars with grief, not fear. She had lost everything. And now she was here on Earth for a reason. By morning, Theo had locked all doors and powered down every device in his cabin. No one knew she was there. At least, he hoped so. Selari sat quietly by the window, holding something in her hand. It looked like a stone, dark green and smooth, shaped like a teardrop. But it wasn't a rock. It pulsed faintly, like it was alive. "What is that?" Theo asked. She looked up. "It's called a heart crystal." He raised an eyebrow. "Heart?" Selari nodded. "It's from my planet. Only my kind can create. It holds energy, memory, and feeling. It warns us of danger and truth." She placed it on the table between them. It didn't move. Theo reached out carefully. The moment his fingers touched it, the crystal glowed bright red for a second, then turned deep blue. Selari's face changed. Her hands clenched. Her voice dropped. "Blue means safety. Red means danger. But red only shows if one of them is close." Theo leaned back, heart pounding. "Them, the ones who destroyed your world," she nodded. "Yes, they send scouts to planets first, to study, blend in, and wait. Once they know enough, they call the others." Theo stared at the crystal. It was blue now, but that red glow, it had been real. Someone, or something dangerous, had been nearby. Selari took the Theo crystal and placed it close to her chest. It glowed again, softly. She looked out the window. "I followed one of their ships here. Its signal led me to your moon, then Earth. But when I crashed, the signal disappeared. You think it's hiding here?" Theo asked. "I know it is," she said, voice flat. "And it's not alone." Theo stood up and began pacing. "If this is true, then the planet's in danger. And no one knows it." "They won't believe you," she said. "They didn't believe you," he replied. "Why would they listen to a janitor?" For a moment, there was silence. Then she said something that made Theo's skin crawl. "They already have someone in your command." Theo froze. "What do you mean?" "The one who gave the order to lock me up. His signal changed before. I lost consciousness. I felt it. He's no longer human." Theo's legs felt weak. That man, Commander Reeves, had been leading the crash site security. Theo had worked under him once. If Selari was right, then Earth's own defense was already compromised. She pulled a small metal device from her cloak. It lit up with holographic lines, shapes, data, patterns. She tapped the air and a small image of Earth appeared, wrapped in glowing lines. "This is their web," she said. "Wherever the lines meet, that's where they feed." Theo studied the image. One of the points blinked red. His eyes widened. That's the research station at Delta Ridge. That place connects to every satellite, every deep space antenna. If they're there, they'll call more," she said. "The signal must be stopped before it grows stronger." Theo sat down. Hard. He had cleaned floors at that station 2 years ago. He still had his old badge. Maybe it still worked. He looked at Selari. "If we go there, what are the chances we make it out alive?" She didn't answer at first, then said quietly, "If we don't go, no one makes it out alive." Outside, clouds moved fast across the sky. A shadow passed overhead, but no sound followed. Something unseen. Something not from Earth. Theo knew, deep in his bones, that they didn't have much time. The enemy was already here. And Earth had no idea the enemy among us. The sun hadn't fully risen, but Theo was already on the move. The old roads leading to Delta Ridge Research Station were empty, cracked, and forgotten, just like him. But he wasn't alone this time. Selari sat beside him in the vehicle, eyes scanning the skies, clutching the heart crystal tightly in her hand. Theo hadn't been back to Delta Ridge since his discharge. It was once the heart of Earth's deep space communications, Now it pulsed quietly under government control. No one would expect a washed-up ex-pilot to walk through those gates again. That was the plan. And the plan had no room for mistakes. "We have to test the crystal again," Theo said. "If someone's been taken, I need to know." Silari closed her eyes and held the crystal to her forehead. The glow turned sickly orange. "That color means corruption. It's not just one. There are several, all hiding behind familiar faces." Theo tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Hours later, they reached the outskirts of the base. It looked the same as before: steel walls, blinking towers, and automated drones hovering silently above. Theo knew the routines, the blind spots, the entry codes. Old systems never changed. That was the problem with Earth tech. It trusted itself too much. Inside, everything looked normal. Technicians walked past with coffee cups. A security guard joked with a scientist near the data hall. No screaming, no signs of war. Just ordinary life, but Silari didn't blink. Her posture was rigid, her crystal faintly glowing. "They wear their stolen skins well," she whispered. Theo led her through the lower levels to the old communications room. Most equipment was offline, dusty, forgotten. But one server still blinked steadily. Theo logged in. The same access still worked. He shouldn't have been surprised. As data flowed on the screen, something strange appeared: an unauthorized signal pulsing from inside the base. It wasn't Earth code. It wasn't even alien code Silari recognized. "This signal is buried," she said. "It's hiding inside your system, masked as a software update. Every time your satellites connect, they carry it deeper into the stars." Theo leaned closer. "So that's how they do it. Spread without moving. The code travels. The scouts don't need to." Suddenly, the room's lights flickered. Theo's stomach dropped. They had triggered something. The door behind them hissed open. A man stood there: Dr. Kell, one of the lead technicians Theo used to work with. He looked the same. Same smile, same eyes. But the moment Silari looked at him, the crystal flashed red. Kell stepped forward. "I'm afraid I can't let you do that, Theo." Theo backed up. "Kell? What?" But the voice wasn't Kell's anymore. It had layers, echoes. And beneath the skin, Theo saw movement like something inside the body wasn't made of flesh at all. Silari raised her hand. "It's already wearing him. He's lost." Kell's face twisted slightly, then smiled wider than any human mouth should. "You brought her here. That was foolish." Theo acted on instinct. He grabbed the old pulse blaster mounted under the desk and fired. The shot hit Kell's chest. His body shuddered and collapsed. But instead of blood, a thick black mist hissed out from the wound. It coiled like smoke, then evaporated into the ceiling vents. Silari turned to Theo, breathing fast. "That wasn't the only one. We must destroy the source node before the signal spreads further." Theo nodded and pulled out a small data core from the system. "I have the location. The central uplink. It's still in sublevel X." As they ran through the halls, no one stopped them, but eyes followed. Some workers smiled too long. Some stood too still. And the hard crystal pulsed darker and darker. They were not safe anymore. Theo now understood what Silari meant. The enemy didn't come crashing from the sky. It didn't fire lasers or wear armor. It simply walked through the front door, wearing a familiar smile, and waited. The war had already started and humanity didn't even know it. The first strike, the alarm lights at Delta Ridge turned red just after midnight. No sirens, no shouting, just a quiet shift from peace to tension. Like the air itself was holding its breath. Deep in the sublevels, Theo and Silari moved through dark maintenance tunnels. Every footstep echoed. Every turn felt like the last one they'd get. Theo gripped the stolen access badge tighter. The uplink core is just 2 levels down. If we disable it, the signal gets cut. Silari nodded but didn't speak. Her crystal pulsed a deep purple, now not danger, not safety, something in between. It was unsure. And that scared Theo more than Red Dot. As they approached the uplink chamber, they found the first sign of a fight. A shattered drone melted from the inside. Burn marks lined the walls, but no bodies, no blood. Just silence. The uplink core was a tall black tower of humming energy, stretching through the floor and ceiling like the spine of the building. Its lights flickered, and next to it stood a human technician, or what looked like one. His eyes glowed faint green. Too bright, too steady. Theo whispered, "That's not human." The figure turned. No fear, no shock. It smiled, and the smile stretched too far. Its voice came in 2 tones. "You're too late. The message is already gone." Theo didn't hesitate. He raised the old blaster and fired. The shot hit center mass, but the thing barely flinched. It screamed, and from its skin, black mist erupted, forming into jagged limbs. It wasn't hiding anymore. It was done pretending. Silari stepped forward. Her voice rose in an ancient language. The crystal in her hand surged with light, then blasted the creature with a shock wave. It shrieked, collapsing into ash, but the damage was done. The uplink flashed red. A countdown appeared. Signal boost in 4 o'clock, 3:59. "They're calling reinforcements," Silari said. "From orbit." Theo moved to the control panel. "Can we stop it?" "Only by destroying the uplink." He hesitated. Blowing the core could collapse the entire base. They'd never make it out, but if they didn't, Silari touched his hand. "You don't have to choose alone." He looked at her and nodded. They planted explosives using old tech, Theo remembered. From his military days, the timer was set for 2 minutes. As they ran, the base began to stir, figures in lab coats chasing them, but their eyes glowed. Some ran on all 4s. Some whispered in voices that didn't match their mouths. They weren't human anymore. The final door ahead was locked. Theo cursed. But then a miracle, the badge still worked. They made it outside just as the explosion ripped through the base. Fire shot into the sky. The tower behind them collapsed inward like a dying star. They hit the ground, covered in ash. Then silence. Theo turned to Silari, breathing hard. "Did we stop the signal?" She held the crystal. "It pulsed once, then dimmed." "Yes," she said. "For now." But far above Earth, something else woke up. In the black void of space, a ship turned its eye toward the blue planet. A command echoed through its hull. The signal may be broken, but the coordinates had already been received. And now, they were coming, not scouts, not spies. The first wave. Asterisk buried truth. The world didn't know what had been saved. News reports called it an internal explosion at Delta Ridge, a technical failure. No mention of the creature, no mention of Silari, no mention of the truth. But Theo knew. He could still hear the scream of that thing. He could still feel the heat of the explosion behind his eyes. And he could still see the glow in Silari's crystal, fading slowly like a heartbeat running out of time. "We stopped the signal," Theo said, watching the sunrise from his truck. Silari stood quietly beside him. "We stopped a signal. But the root is deeper. Earth isn't just a target. It's part of something older." She pulled a small map from her cloak, not made of paper. It shimmered like liquid glass, and old symbols ran across its surface. She pointed to a mountain range in the northern desert. "There's something buried beneath this land. It called to my ancestors long ago. Now it's calling again." Theo squinted. "You're saying this happened before?" She nodded. "Not to Earth, but to others. My people were once watchers. We warned civilizations when the darkness approached. But some worlds didn't listen in time. Those worlds no longer exist. Theo's stomach turned cold. And Earth still has a chance. They drove for hours, away from cities, away from people, toward the wastelands where no satellites scanned and no humans built. Selari guided them with instinct, like the land itself whispered to her. Finally, they reached a dry canyon, cracked and silent. She stopped walking. "Here," she said, "beneath this stone." Theo looked at the giant rock. "You're kidding." Selari placed her hand on the ground. The crystal pulsed, brighter than ever. With a low rumble, the stone split in half, like it had been waiting to open. A staircase led down into the darkness. Theo followed her into the earth, his flashlight flickering. The walls were carved with symbols that didn't look human or alien but something older. The air smelled like dust and cold metal. They reached a wide chamber. At its center was a pedestal. On it rested a floating orb encased in faint golden light. Around the chamber, broken statues stared with hollow eyes. Some looked human. Some didn't. Selari approached the orb. "This is the beacon." Theo raised an eyebrow. "Beacon for what?" She whispered, "Hope or war?" She touched it. The chamber came to life. Lights crawled across the walls. A holographic map of the galaxy appeared above them, flickering with thousands of glowing points. One point blinked red. Earth. Then the projection zoomed out, showing multiple planets, marked with red crossed out. Destroyed. Black dust swirling where life once existed. Theo stepped back. "All of them gone?" Selari nodded. "The enemy leaves no survivors. They feed on fear, chaos, and memory. Once a world forgets who they are, it's over." Theo stared at the Earth point. "But why is Earth still here?" Selari turned to him. "Because your kind is different. You resist what others absorb. You adapt. You fight even when logic says run." Theo laughed bitterly. "We also destroy our own." "Doesn't make us special." She stepped closer. "It does. The enemy fears unpredictability. That's why I came here. Not just to warn, but to awaken what sleeps beneath." Theo looked around the chamber. "What exactly is sleeping?" Selari reached into her cloak and pulled out a shard of her ship's core. She placed it into the pedestal. The orb shifted. A deep hum filled the room. And then the ground shook. From behind the chamber walls, ancient machines stirred. Giant forms, part tech, part bone, rose slowly. They had been hidden, waiting for a signal to rise. Theo stepped back, stunned. "What are they?" Selari looked him in the eye. "They're Earth's last defense. But they need a human to command them." Theo stared at the glowing control panel, and the chamber whispered his name. The choice. The chamber walls were alive now, lit with swirling symbols, humming with energy that hadn't moved in thousands of years. Theo stood still, breathing hard, as the machines stirred around him. Each one towered high, covered in ancient armor and strange carvings, half organic, half machine guardians left behind by someone long gone. The glowing panel pulsed beneath Theo's hand, but he didn't touch it yet. "You're telling me," he said slowly, "these things were built for us?" Selari stepped beside him. Her voice was soft, almost reverent. "They were built with you in mind. Long ago, before your species walked upright, Earth was marked as a potential refuge. These machines were buried here by the last resistance who fought the darkness. They knew this planet was special, that humans might one day be strong enough to fight what others could not." Theo shook his head. "We're not ready. Half the planet doesn't even believe aliens exist." "They will," Selari said, her eyes glowing, "when the sky cracks open." Suddenly, the crystal in her palm blazed red. Theo turned, instincts firing. Above them, Deep inside the rock above the chamber, something was moving. They hadn't been alone. An explosion rocked the cave ceiling. Cracks split the stone. Dust rained down. One of the ancient machines roared to life as if responding to danger, lifting its head as glowing spears unfolded from its arms. From the tunnel they came through, black mist poured in, and out of it came shapes human in outline, monstrous in truth. Their eyes glowed with stolen light. Their voices blended into a sickening hum. One of them stepped forward wearing the body of Commander Reeves. "Theo Dunn," it said with a twisted grin. "Still playing hero?" Theo raised his weapon, but the machine beside him moved first, firing. A beam of light that split the dark creature into smoke and bone. The others backed off, but only for a second. Solari grabbed Theo's arm. "We have to activate the beacon now. Choose, Theo. The machines need a commander now." The panel lit up brighter as Theo reached out. Images flooded his mind, memories, possibilities, futures that hadn't happened yet. He saw Earth burning. He saw it rising. He saw himself falling into both. And then, silence. The chamber locked to him. The machines all turned in unison. Their eyes burned blue. They bowed their heads. Theo had made the choice. At the surface, the skies had changed. News stations across the globe suddenly went dark. Power grids failed. Space telescopes picked up something massive approaching from the far edge of the solar system. A shadow darker than space itself. Governments panicked. Satellites blinked out. Cities began to fall into chaos, not from attack but from the fear of the unknown. But somewhere in the desert, a storm was rising. Not of wind or dust, but of ancient machines awakening for the first time in eons, led by a human no one had believed in. Until now, Solari turned to him, smiling despite the danger. "You chose Earth. Now Earth chooses you." Theo looked up at the sky, where stars seemed to shift. And something enormous moved behind them. The war hadn't begun, but Earth had. Finally answered *, the war begins above Earth. Space rippled like disturbed water. Then it tore open. From the breach came ships, not made of metal, but of living black matter that pulsed like a heartbeat. They blotted out stars as they moved, silent and massive. Earth's skies turned darker not from clouds, but from shadows. Cast by something far worse. Government sent warnings. Satellites sent nothing back. All systems jammed, all signals dead. Panic erupted on every continent. Military forces scrambled, but they had no idea what they were facing. No enemy to shoot. No clear target. Just fear. But in the deep deserts of Earth, in a place the world had forgotten, a new force stood waiting. Theo, once a forgotten janitor, now stood at the head of the ancient command platform. Around him, machines carved in the age before humanity marched forward like titans. Their armor hummed. Their weapons glowed. Inside each one, Earth's lost history breathed again, powerful, waiting, angry. Solari stood beside him, her crystal now fused into the system. "They're scanning the surface. They know we're here." Theo looked up at the swirling sky, then down at the world below. He felt no fear, only clarity. Let them come. The first strike came fast. One of the shadow ships released a spear of black light. It shot toward Earth like a curse. But before it could reach a major city, one of the titanic machines launched into the air, intercepting the blast with a barrier of golden fire. The explosion lit up the sky. Humans across the globe saw it. They stared. They pointed. And for the first time, they knew this wasn't just an invasion. This was a war for survival. Theo sent commands through the control ring now embedded in his arm. Dozens of machines responded instantly. From beneath oceans, frozen mountains, and deep forest roots, more awakened. Each one tied to the old beacon system, now sensed to Theo's will. Humanity had no time left for disbelief. Broadcasts resumed hijacked. By the ancient system, a message played on every screen in every language. This is Earth's last defense. Stand together. Resist. Fight. Across the globe, people began to rally. Soldiers, civilians, hackers, engineers, everyone had a part. Solari's warning had not come in vain. And Theo, once ignored, was now the voice of the resistance on the battlefield. The enemy shifted into terrifying shapes, giants of mist, wolves with metal jaws, and creatures that mimicked fallen friends. But the machines Theo commanded adapted. They learned, evolved, countered. Each battle was brutal. Many fell, cities trembled. But Earth did not dot at the final push. Theo faced the Dark General, the one that had worn Commander Reeves's face. Now it towered above them, its true form revealed. A creature of writhing black tendrils, eyes that burned with stolen light, and a voice that echoed with every scream from every lost world. You should have let your world die quietly. It hissed. Theo lifted the beacon weapon charged with Solari's energy. Earth's will and his own fury. I don't take orders. From ghosts, the blast tore through space, ripping the creature apart. The skies above Earth cleared. The shadow ships retreated into the breach, which sealed behind them like it had never existed. Silence fell. Later, people would ask how Earth survived. Some would say it was the machines. Others would whisper about the alien girl who came to warn them. But the truth was this: one human listened. One human believed. And because of that, Earth was ready. The war had begun. But so had a new legend asterisk,